dun. Welcome to Hello Chaos, a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic lives and minds of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Each week, I do have the privilege to speak with founders across the spectrum from different industries at various stages, from startups to mature businesses of all shapes and sizes. Our listeners get to hear the real, the raw, the unvarnished viewpoints and stories, getting incredible insights on what it takes to start and scale a business, to become a better founder, better CEO, maybe just a better business leader. So I'm excited about today's guest. We have Rachel Epps, founder and owner of Arts in Motion, an inclusive arts organization. She offers all arts under one roof right here in the upstate of South Carolina. And it's new. And this is new for us. Like, this is a first and only of its kind in our area. So welcome to Hello Chaos, Rachel.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I love to see the vision, and I like I said, I know that we've known each other just a short bit. Met you through the Minority Business Accelerator, where I'm a business coach
Mhm.
in, and you weren't assigned to me, but I loved hearing and watching the journey and the vision you had
It
for
was
your,
quite
because
a year for me too. So
yeah, well, and
that's
you had a lot of
a
personal
roller
stuff
coaster.
going on, and I mean, and I think that's just good to get into too, because working moms that
Mhm.
have a great vision. Because you went from having just a regular like dance studio, and but this is a big vision.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah.
don't you
It's
just
kind of
start us
scary.
out? Yeah, tell our listeners, like, how did you get started in entrepreneurship, or just like starting your own company?
Yeah. So it was an accident, to be honest.
Most of us did.
Yeah, but I think it was so intentional as well at the same time.
Mm,
Like my life is so it's always both and, right? So
yeah.
I moved here, had two daughters. I started working full time when we moved here and put them in preschool. And one of my daughter's teachers was like, "Hey, you teach dance. Can I sign my daughter up?" And I was like, "No, I don't teach," because I taught and managed a studio in Charleston. And when we moved here, I just didn't see that fitting into my life, which is
Right.
crazy. Dance is a lot of my identity. But I went home and I told my husband, I was like, "This is so weird. Isn't that funny?" And he was like, "Maybe you should teach dance." And he's
Right.
not he's usually the more grounded person. So for him to be like feeding into this, I was like, "Huh. Okay." So it started with a class at my daughter's preschool
Hmm.
and accidentally grew into where we are now with four studios and five different disciplines that we offer, and it's
Wow.
crazy.
So, what inspired you to go beyond? I mean, you said that you already owned something in Charleston, kind of did a dance studio. What made you decide to expand that vision?
Yeah. So in Charleston, right after college, I started working for a studio and quickly moved up to studio manager. So
Hmm.
didn't own anything in Charleston, but was one of her first employees and got to kind of come alongside her in watching that vision grow. And
Mm.
I loved it so much, Jennifer. Oh my gosh, I was just so in love with everything I got to do every day. And then started having babies and decided to take a step back from that and focus on being a mom. And like I said, when we moved here, I started working full time outside of the dance industry. Um, and it just, it crept back in
The
and it,
calling.
yeah, I couldn't deny it. And
Mm.
so I don't know. Someone did ask me early on, like, why don't you just teach? Why do you want the headache of owning? And I was like,
Right, because
I,
it's
yeah, what I learned in the process in my first year was that I actually really loved the business side of things
Mm.
because I know dance inside and out. When I go to the ballet bar, not the bar, but the ballet bar, I'm home. That's my home base. I know exactly what to do. I don't have to think about it. My body knows
Mm.
what to do. And there's so much comfort in that. But also, I needed more challenge.
Mm.
And so I could only get that so much in my teaching.
Gotcha.
Um, and so learning business has been that next step for me, and it's amazing. I love it.
So I was gonna say, most people are like, "Oh, this is horrible." What was like the biggest self discovery about yourself that either was that a surprising element that you learned, or um, you know, what was that aha moment of diving deep into the ownership part of it?
I've always been a natural leader, and I've tried to like at some points in my life kind of push that off. Like I don't want to be in the limelight. I don't want to
Right.
be the one in charge, but I actually super love being in charge. In a very collaborative way, which I think is one of the unique things about my studio environment and culture that we've created. But um, yeah, I'm a natural leader, and
Mm.
if everyone's kind of like, I don't know, guys, what should we do? I'm gonna be the one to be like, okay, this is what we're doing, and we're gonna charge for it, and we're gonna do it with confidence and figure it out as we go.
Yeah. What's been the most rewarding part?
I think it's both seeing the confidence grow in my students and
Mm.
in myself. Um, and one of the hardest parts transitioning from the classroom to ownership has been the ego part of it, because
Mm.
I was Miss Rachel and everyone
Ah,
knew and loved Miss Rachel, and I taught all the classes and I did all the things. And now I think there's a good portion of our student body that doesn't know Miss Rachel and
yeah.
doesn't know who Miss Rachel was and is in the classroom. And so, um, being able to pass that gift on to the teachers and let them become their own version of Miss Rachel, uh,
Right.
you know, become their own teacher. And that's been really rewarding. So transitioning from the teacher of the students to the teacher of the teachers has been a really cool, because it's very much an ego thing. I remember the
Yeah.
first year I didn't get a single Christmas present from any of my students. And I was like, the audacity. But all of my teachers got amazing gifts, and you know what? They deserve it. They're the ones in there every
That's
day. And so when I took a step back, I was like really proud of what I was on the verge of creating.
yeah. How did you like did you have to mentally prepare for that transition? Did it just come natural? Did you have a coach that were like, "Hey, you need to be ready for this." Like, or like what was that first moment that you were like, "Oh, this is different.
It was
how do
that
I
year
work through this?" Yeah.
It was the year I didn't get any Christmas presents. That was the realization. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this day in, day out.
Mm,
And now I'm not the one in the classroom. So I either could be hold on to my ego,
mm,
or I could embrace this new chapter. And I chose to embrace it. Um, at the time, I didn't have a dedicated coach that I worked with one on one, but I was part of an organization that had group coaching for us.
okay.
And I think being in that group and digging deeper and leaning more and more into that group, that coaching, the education,
Yeah.
and all of that has been what's helped me find my voice as a leader and my confidence as a leader, and embrace each new chapter along the way, because it's
Yeah.
hard. This is really
Uh,
hard.
oh yeah. What surprised you the most? Or what have you learned the most about yourself?
um I think it's the confidence piece. I really do. What I've learned, especially over the past year, because when I met you, I just
Mm,
started the build out for my new location. We
yeah.
were getting ready to move here, and there were a lot of tears, and I was terrified because I knew that I was doing the right thing. But what if this all blows up and I have 3 kids and a husband that I'm responsible for? And,
It's
you
a big
know,
risk. I mean,
it's
it's
a
not
big, and this was the biggest risk that I took. To this point, everything has been so, I'm very calculated
mm,
and careful, and there's always been an out. And this is like, I'm all in.
'cause-
There's no way out. We're
right.
just going through it. And so trusting my gut,
Mm,
because it's never led me wrong. And even
yeah.
if I make mistakes, which I will, I'm going to be okay because I always have been. So I just
Right.
trust my gut.
Was what was the biggest oh shit moment? Just the react like, oh shit, this is it? Or I know you hit some other barriers. What was like? What was the biggest oh shit? I guess.
Obviously, for so many of us, COVID, but for me, it was, are we in or are we out? Am I
Mm,
doing this or am I gonna just walk away? Because,
right,
like I said, to that point, I really had, um, I guess, one foot in the door. Like if I needed to close up shop, I could. I rented
right,
space from a gym and had no long-term commitment, and it was just me and my personal schedule. When COVID happened, I realized quickly from my mom perspective
mm,
that renting space from somebody else, I had zero control over who came in and out of that building. I had
yeah,
zero control over any safety precautions we may need to do.
yeah,
And I'm dealing with other people's children.
right,
I am helping raise other people's babies when they come to my studio. And so I take that responsibility very seriously. And so I took some time to think,
mm,
am I going to stay home and homeschool my kids?
right.
Or am I going to go all in on this? And clearly, homeschooling was not the path for me.
That's
Um,
right.
we survived, but it was rough. But I um, I called the first uh, for rent sign that I saw. I called that number, and very nice man answered the phone, and we set up a meeting. I went and toured a space, and I just laid it all out on the line for him. I was like, "Look, I'm a mom
Mm,
first. That's where I'm at in my life, and I'm building this business to allow me to do that.
right,
So I need to know, what is my end game if this all blows up, because we don't know what's happening in the world.
right.
How do I get out of this?" And so we negotiated. I felt very confident in the deal that we locked in,
Mm,
and signed my first lease. And 6 months, we filled that space and signed a second lease to add on a
mm,
second studio. And so, as scary as that was like the moment where this became real.
ah, ah. So, do you think there's myths or misperceptions of that you went in to owning, running, operating a business that then you got into it and you were like, those were all lies? Or did you already, because you watched, did you already have a good handle of that? Was there any kind of surprises to you?
I mean, there's always surprises along the way. There's always something that pops up. You're like, well, I didn't have this on my bingo card, right? But
Right.
I think that's the fun for me is
Yeah.
is okay, new challenge. Let's go. Let's figure this out. But no, I don't know. I just love doing this, and like I said, I'm very calculated.
Yeah.
So I locked into the Dance Studio Owners Association very early on. Um, I was able to do a lot of trainings through them, and then finally joined their inner circle, which is their mastermind program for studio owners. I think the biggest myth I was told in the beginning is that studio ownership and business ownership in general is very lonely. And
Mm,
while that is so true, it doesn't have to be your truth.
right.
So I really leaned into that community in the DSOA and have found my people. And I'm able to share with them all of the things that I'm experiencing, going through. At a moment's notice, I can call any one of those
Mm,
people and ask them questions, complain, cry,
right.
celebrate, whatever. And so I've thankfully, not felt that loneliness, because when you're the leader, you don't get the opportunity to share
Right.
everything with the people you spend every day with, right?
Right.
Hard.
Well, and making sure that whoever you share it's safe. You don't feel like you're going to be taken advantage of or anything like
Right.
that. So I think that's a really good lesson just for anybody if they're thinking, because you're right that it is a very lonely place, but it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be. I mean, it's one of the reasons um, I started Orange Whip was because of my love for the entrepreneurial community, especially the women owned and minority owned business community, of having those connections.
Right.
I wish if I could hit rewind I didn't really even was aware of those spaces until I was in the business for 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah,
Had I known there was this ecosystem, I would have entered that ecosystem immediately if I could just hit
for
rewind,
sure.
because it's been so rewarding, but and not lonely anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
and I
yeah,
think, in the beginning, I was a little nervous and hesitant about joining the inner circle because it's not cheap to be part of a
no,
mastermind group. Coaching is not cheap. It is
it,
an
it's an
investment
investment.
in
Oh
yourself.
my goodness, yeah,
Yes. And so once I made that mindset shift of I am investing in myself and this is the way that I'm going to continue educating myself so that I can grow personally and professionally and grow my business. Um, I think that's the biggest thing people need to change their mindset because
yeah.
otherwise you're just setting yourself up for that lonely experience.
Right. Well, not only that, it's like it can help accelerate. So the things that and you saw that through the accelerator, at least, when I was the in my cohort in 2018, there were people who had been in business for 20 years and were in tears going through after some of um the lectures that day and going through the homework, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, where was this 20 years ago?
Yeah,
Why was this not available? Like, this isn't shit you learn in school. Like,
right.
this is not stuff that you
No
learn,
one teaches you this
in
stuff.
even working in corporations. Like, I spent 2 decades in agencies in the business in management, and there were still like I got 80% kind of viewpoint, but not the other 20%, which is the hard 20%
Right.
of but yeah, people were in tears, and it's like, ah, but it doesn't, and she's just like, man, I would have paid for this money in full.
And I think
Um,
that's the mistake people make is because they're like, I don't have the money to do this. I can't afford to do this. And it's really hindsight is you can't afford not to because
right,
all of the money you lose and all the mistakes that you make along the way, and you could have avoided some of them, not all of them, but
right,
having that coach in your corner, someone helping you talk through these things, someone telling you about financial reports and all of the
right,
things. I got into this because I'm a dance teacher,
right,
dancer. I count to 8 for a living. Okay.
right.
Like that,
That's
that's as much math as I want to do. And that's not the job anymore. And it's fun,
exactly.
exciting, as hard as it is.
Yeah. Hey, founders, quick pause in the chaos for something that might just change the way you think about marketing. Quick question. Is your marketing actually working or just making noise? Bright marketing helps founders and CEOs stop guessing and start growing. They're not like most agencies. They don't push cookie cutter campaigns or chase trends. They start with curiosity, the kind that uncovers what's really holding your business back and builds a strategy that actually moves the needle. Because marketing is not a department. It's not an expense. It's a growth engine if you do it right. If your brand feels stuck, scattered, or misaligned, they can fix all that. They are offering a mini brand therapy workshop, a 60-day tune up. Only 5 slots are available. Send an email to hello@gobrightnow.com to grab one of these spots or to learn how their service packages work to help you get clarity, confidence, and real results. Send that email today and write curious in the subject line. Now back to the chaos. Absolutely. And and like even there are so many resources in the communities, universities, the accelerators, incubators, take advantage of those, because even if they are if there is a charge, they're usually so modest of a
Yeah.
fee.
Yeah.
um, but especially within, if your organization, you're in a category that has like specialized trainings and incubators and business coaches, and it's those things are so invaluable because you're getting insight from people who have already walked the walk, and they
Right.
can tell
So it's
you.
it's industry specific, right? But
Right.
also what I learned being part of the MBA program through the chamber is that while it's great to have industry specific stuff, there's still so much business
Yes.
that, dance studios, that's just one part of it. And there's a lot more that goes into it than just teaching classes. So
That's right.
it opened up a whole world of possibility for me. So we preach cross training in our studio. It's important to continue cross training and try new things. It's the same in business.
That's right. That's right. Systems and processes.
That's
Isn't that
right.
what?
That was our biggest
um,
lesson.
that's the
Systems
biggest
and
lesson. What? So as you have gone through, like, this self discovery and really kind of pushing yourself, what's something that you really like about yourself, that you have found that you're like, this is pretty special, but you wish other people would recognize more?
That's a great question. I think what resonates with me with what I'm working on inside my business right now is that I love laying foundations and
Mm,
telling stories. So that comes across in everything that I do. I think when we are talking about starting a new program in the studio, I make sure we have a strong foundation. It all goes back to that ballet bar
mm,
mentality. That is my home base. And you can't go into a single ballet class anywhere in the world
mm.
without going through the same process. You're going to step
Right.
up to the bar and you're going to start with your plies. That is a number one. You have to have that foundation, right?
Right.
And so for my students, for my staff, everything, I really want to make sure we have a firm foundation before we take the leap and do
Right.
anything new. And that has served me well. And then I also believe so strongly in stories
Mm,
because they help us understand the world
that's right.
around us. Um, they help us understand people. They help us understand ourselves. And so
Mm,
stories are so powerful. And I think that's one of the main motivators for my entire programming here at the studio. It's the basis for our curriculum for our creative division. We tell stories through our productions. So I love to hear other people's stories. I can't consume enough
uh,
podcasts to a
I-
fault sometimes. I have to go on like content detox.
that's right.
But stories and foundations are so important to everything that we're doing as educators and as people.
Right. Well, I think it's a human connection,
Mhm.
um, that cannot be replaced by AI.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's a lot of fear around that right now. And
Right.
I myself have some fear. I love Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Um, she's on staff. Her name is Susan, and she's very helpful. Uh, she helps us in a lot of ways. But I'm like, oh my goodness, we're just feeding her all the information. But you know what? There's so much that the human touch can't be replaced. So
No, and we've learned that, in our the agency, the creative side, well, in operation, to me, it just helps in operations
yeah,
efficiency. It doesn't replace human experience.
right.
You know, we work on branding. We're doing like big ad campaigns. We can tell you we have tested every tool. Chat,
Hmm.
like, it is the experience of the mind, of 30 years of how do you design that prompt? How do you push back when you do get something? Because I think that's, you read it and you're like, that's not right. Like, I know enough. Let me question it again. I'm a Instagram junkie, content junkie, story, same thing. I was listening to a podcaster who was, um, she's a nutritionist. She has her PhD. She's been in it for 20, 30 years. And, she's like, I'm going to debunk a comment that I got on like on one of her, clips of videos. And she was like, clearly you took something I said, you threw it into Chat GPT and you literally vomited out the, the comment. And she was like, so let me tell you, yes, you're right. Chat GPT gives you this answer. But let me tell you, I went back in and she was like, I put in as a, PhD specialist in this, I, this isn't the information I found. And it right back and he goes, you're right. And it's funny to, you got to have, but that's the human experience of it.
Yeah,
And
for
even in
sure.
the,
And it's wild in our industry. We did an experiment a while back. We put in what kind of music we wanted. And
yeah.
so it created a song. And then we put in some parameters around creating choreography for a tap number.
Ah,
And I had some friends, they were the ones doing this because I'm like, it's too much AI. I don't understand. But they got up at one of our conferences and performed a piece of choreography that AI had created for them and
oh,
to
that's
a
cool.
song that
Yeah.
AI had put together. But what's fascinating is, as fun as that was to play with and as cool as it is, and it
Mm,
is a helpful tool, especially, some choreographers are knocking out 20, 30 solos, duos, trios,
right.
and it's a lot. It takes a lot of creative energy. So that could be a helpful starting place,
Right.
but it doesn't replace that
No,
artistic creative side that we as
that's right.
humans bring.
And we can feel it. I too, because that's what I said, when we use it as like their ideation starters.
Yeah.
um Even like our creative officers and our art directors and copywriters, there's just nothing that replaces. It's like it might spark the idea, but we're looking at it going, God, that feels really fake, or that's not unique, and or it doesn't have that brand tone. And we've tested all the ones that are like, you can put in your brand templates. Chandler's laughing because he knows he's been one that sees a lot of the outputs of it. And it's just, you have to have the experience of an art director
Yeah.
that has spent years looking at how to do visual design that's going to relate to a human,
Yeah.
so that it feels relevant to that brand and
Right.
unique to that brand. And same with the copywriter and the storyteller. You can't replace that. It's just good. So you can use it as a starter, like but and then you can see it as a output, the refinement, the pushing. Um, but at the end of the day, we see it. It helps just in the middle. You got to have experience going in and being able to do the right inputs, and then you have to have the refinement and the pushing, to make it kind of that real, relevant human, um, brand connection.
For
And
sure.
only humans can do that. Like
Right.
and I know it's learning and all that from that, but I still believe that, even human to human, if we watch an entire dance that was purely AI generated, we wouldn't enjoy it, because I think we, as our human lizard brains, we
Mhm.
would discern that as, that feels kind of artificial.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to enjoy that as much.
That emotion and the
Yeah,
heart behind it.
that's
You
right.
can't, yeah, a computer can't generate that.
No, and I don't think it'll ever get there. I mean, I know it's artificial learning and machine learning, but it's still, I don't think it's ever going to take away the human experience, the human connection, and what's in that emotion, that heart. I just don't think it's going to be replaceable to
I don't
that.
either. I
Yeah,
don't either. I'm
because
not
then
worried about it.
I'm not worried about it either. Because I was like, people are gonna pay for that. You know what I mean? So, if other studios, or we've seen that, other agencies that use AI technology without the experience, they're losing clients left and right because it's not
Yeah.
working.
Right. Because people are picking up on it. They know when
Right.
it's not genuine, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's fun. So, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, so much. Oh my goodness. I we're in hyper growth mode right now.
Yeah.
We just moved to this new location, and my my mentor always tells me that if your dreams aren't big enough, or if your dreams don't make you want to throw up, they're not big enough. And so I'm like, well, I want to throw up all the time.
Right.
So I want to get to a point where maybe I don't feel that way for a little bit, but right now I've just accepted that that is where we are. And I dream big all the time. We actually have a showcase tomorrow
Oh,
for our company students, and the theme is a million dreams, because
oh,
we've been really experimenting this year, particularly with our company members, you get to a point where you just know you're about to outgrow the model that you've been in. And
Yeah.
my team always tells me, they're like, you're 10 years ahead of us. We have to like figure out where you are and work backwards. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, when I speak to you, it's 10 years in the future and that's where
Right.
we are. So figure it out.
Right.
It's a fun game we play, but
That's
so I came to my team this summer and I said, listen, here's what I want to do. I want to create a triple threat company. We're going to have these kids train in singing, dancing, acting. We're going to have them do all of these things. And in addition to the two big productions that we do every year, and now the musical that we do in the summers, we're going to do a company showcase. And it's going to be, taking it back to our roots as dancers, as artists. And we're going to have a true dance concert, which we haven't done in a long time because
that'll
we
be
do
fun.
these big productions,
Yeah.
where we take all the arts that we offer and you can see them come together. And it's been so fun to watch. Like I said earlier, I've created really a collaborative environment. One of our core values is we teach collaboration over competition to our students, but also as a creative team, we really are able to work together. So whether you're here 20, 40 hours a week, or you just come in and teach 3 classes a week and that's it, we're all connected and work collaboratively together. So it's this really beautiful artistic environment where we still get to feed ourselves as artists,
Right.
and not just educators and teachers coming in and teaching the basics
Yeah.
of ballet. So yeah, it's been really fun to experiment this year and see, okay, this is working. We're going to lean into this. This is not working. So we're going to tweak that
Right.
and lay the foundation for next season. Which this is a little preview if any of my my people are listening, but next season 8 will be a season of change for us. There's going to be a lot of really amazing, fun things coming our way. So
Oh,
I'm
well,
excited.
good. I'm
Yeah.
excited for you. There we
Yeah.
go. If you could change 2 things about your business, if I gave you a little magic wand, 2 things to change, what would you change?
That's an interesting question because I think I'm where I am strategically and purposefully.
Oh,
But if I could change anything, our growth would have happened a little bit faster over this past year. There's so many things outside of our control in business,
that's right.
and that's okay.
Yep.
But like I said, we've been experimenting this year, so we've learned a lot in the process, so we're prepared for that. I think more prepared for that growth than we would have been
Yeah.
if it had just happened the way I would have liked. Um,
Sometimes the universe speaks to us to go, "Okay,
yeah,
let's go. Let's be more method."
yeah. Pump the brakes a little bit, slow your roll. I don't know what the other thing would be. Like I said, I'm 10 years into the future in this
Yeah.
thing. So I see a world where we have, 3 to 500 students and we are training kids who just do this for fun and kids who want to go pre-professional.
Right.
But even if they don't ever go on to be a professional performer, they can take whatever they learn here in our walls
Mm.
and apply it to school, work,
Yeah.
everything, life, because that's what dance gave me. That's what all the arts have given me. And so that's my purpose.
That's right.
And,
Well, it
and
makes you
so
a better I think it makes you a better student. I mean, because it's almost like a third language.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many life lessons that happen inside the studio that bleed out into their lives when they come here. This week has been show week. So we were in tech mode. The kids have had dress rehearsals. That means late nights. And,
Right.
they've got homework. So they've got to learn how to manage their time
That's
so
right.
that they can get those
They're
things
building
done.
their own resilience, right? As
They
we
are. And as a mom of 3 of our dancers, that is not always the funnest lesson to teach them and go alongside them as they learn, but it's so important.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
any extracurricular activity does that. But I believe so strongly in the power of the arts that that kids are learning so much
Mm.
and building their confidence
Yeah,
that they're going to be able to go out into the world and be resilient, wonderful human beings.
that's right. Um, okay, so I know you're 10 years out, but let's like, if we met next, February,
Mhm.
what would we be celebrating a year from now?
Mm. Well, I can't give away too much.
Yeah.
There's so many things behind the scenes that we are working on getting ready to launch in the next couple months. But I think the how do I say this without giving it away? I don't know. Next season's going to be huge. We're going to be celebrating everything that season 8 brings for Arts in Motion.
All right. Season 8 is what
Yes.
we're going to be celebrating.
Yeah.
Is it the launch of season 8 or that everything's come together for season like
I think it'll be everything coming together. I think because
okay.
we're preparing the launch now. That'll be in the next couple weeks and months. We'll be rolling out new things. We're meeting with our current company and prospective company members this
Okay.
weekend about some of those changes, and I think that they're going to be really excited about that.
Okay. So we're manifesting it. We're putting it out there in the
We
universe.
are, we
All
are.
right. Um if okay, so in one word, how would you sum up your founder journey?
I think I have to say confidence.
Okay.
Um, Finding confidence in myself,
Mm,
preaching confidence to our students. Um, because if you can find your self confidence, you can face anything
yeah.
that life gives you. You know, school is hard, math is hard. And if you can just be self confident that you're going to be able to get through it, you're going to
You
be
can do
able to,
anything.
you
All
can
right.
do anything. And so that extends to me as an entrepreneur, just
Mm,
having the confidence. I really, truly, when I started this business, people were like, oh, you should join the chamber. And I'm like, I'm just a dance teacher.
right.
No one wants to talk to me, or what could I bring to the table? And now I realize I'm not just a dance teacher.
Right.
I'm so much more than that.
You
And
that's right.
finding that confidence has been really empowering.
That's right. Oh, I love that word. And you're instilling and teaching confidence
Yeah.
to your teachers. Like you're
Yes.
passing it on. Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest thing in starting this and starting to grow my team has always been I don't think it's right or fair that I'm the only one that gets to live out my dreams. And
Mm,
so I really try and make it a point to meet with my team and get to know them and their dreams, and then see how can we make those dreams come true together. Because as dancers, creators, artists, um, I'm not the only one with a big vision. A lot
right.
of us come in, and so I try and work with them. And then again with our students, that's one of the things we've experienced and experimented with this year, is asking them, what do you want out of your
Mm,
training here? Instead of just saying you have to learn your pliés and you have to, do all of these things or you're never going to make it as a dancer. Like, what do you want? Do you want to
right.
be a dancer? Do you just want to enjoy this for fun? All those things, and helping them get to the point where they can achieve those goals.
Right. Oh, that's good. All right. So look into the next chapter. What word defines that chapter?
Mm, I think it's dreaming big.
Just dream
Just
big.
big, yeah. I
Keep the
I
vision. What's
Yeah,
because you're like, I'm already on year 10. What's year 30?
yeah. I'm like, we're gonna do this and this, and my team's like, whoa,
Like,
slow down.
Rachel, we're just trying to get through 2026 here.
Yeah.
Like, let's get through. And you're like, no, no, no.
No, no.
I'm on 2035, people. Let's get.
Listen, last year I told them we were going to go from 2 shows to 3. Um, but the way I presented that was, I was like, well, at some point we're going to have 8 shows a season. And they were like, whoa. And I was like, don't worry. Next year we're just doing 3.
Right.
Um, and then season 8, I'm projecting we're going to do 6. And they're like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? But it's not just, and I think that's the other thing, is like building trust with my
Yeah.
team. and our parents and students. It's building that trust so that they're trusting me and coming alongside me with these
Yeah.
dreams, because I'm not just saying we're going to do this with no purpose. There's a
Right.
purpose for everything.
Well, and I think by you pushing the team too, when you say, "Hey, we're going to do 8 shows a year," and they're thinking, "How do we get that done?" It also, and then you're like, "Hey, we're only going to do 3." It
Right.
it it forces the their brain reset to go, "Okay, this is an opportunity for me to rethink. How do we get this done? How do I support operations? Do I need to voice up to Rachel to go, Rachel, we need to have we'll need to make sure we have 2 other people,
Yeah.
or we need to invest in this tool, or we need to really systematize this in order to be able to meet that bigger objective." So I think it just by leaders, presenting those kind of big visions,
Hmm.
it really does kind of force um the team. And then you can see who, not everybody's going to be to, will be next to you as you meet that. People
Yeah.
can, and some
You
people might
outgrow
go,
people along the way.
that you grow people. Some people might, like, I've had people on my team that were like, you know what, this is the role I play. I don't want to manage. I
Hmm.
want to do this role and I'm going to perfect it.
Hmm.
And that's great. And as leaders and managers, we have to recognize, how do we meet people where they are
For
and
sure.
help them succeed where they are.
I look at my team
Yeah.
all the time and I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, I can't imagine a world in which I don't own my own business, a world in which I work for somebody else.
Yeah.
It seems so crazy to me. And yet, I have one team member who has been with me almost from the beginning. Um, she's, my biggest cheerleader, my number one fan. She started off as a dance mom and has really grown into an amazing team member. And she's like, I don't want to
Yeah.
do what you do, but I love doing this with you. So
Right. And
we
there's,
all have our special gifts and places. And I think as a leader, being able to recognize
that's right.
people's gifts and pulling them up to where, they may not see potential in themselves, but also recognizing, oh, they really don't want that. I can't push
Right.
that on them.
I can't push that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, so what's the best piece of advice you'd give another founder or business owner when they need to aggressively scale? Kind of what's been your magic little ingredient to do that?
I mean, honestly, it's trusting my gut 1,000%. The times that I have struggled the most is when I'm doubting myself,
Hmm.
and I don't think that everyone has that gift, that strong intuition. So I don't know how to teach that, but
Yeah.
if you feel that with every fiber of your being, trust it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise,
Right.
even if it's crazy. Like, even if, some people say I moved to this location too soon, and they are right in a lot of ways. When you're digging into the business, they are
Right.
right. But I know with every fiber of my being that this is where we needed to be. And I prepared
Hmm.
every contingency to just crawl and scratch and claw our way through that hard part, and it's going to serve us well.
Yeah.
um, it's not the easy path, but it's the right path for me. And I think you have to have that the audacity to choose the hard.
Right. And I think, know yourself, know your gut. Cause I do think we've heard a lot of founders who say, like, your energy, you can feel it if you're in the wrong
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
If you can feel it if the team isn't jiving and it's not collaborate, like, uh, or your team can sense your angst, right?
Yes.
So I think there's a lot to be said about knowing yourself,
Hmm.
feeling your intuition, trying to understand, is that from fear? Is it just financial? Like, what is it, and work through it.
Hmm.
Um, but,
And that's been a big
but
lesson for me this
reading that,
year
yeah,
is really, all right, I trust my gut, right?
right.
Now it's time for me to kind of back off a little bit and trust my team. Like
Yeah,
I have given them what they need to succeed, and now going back to that whole idea, I shouldn't be the only one to
that's
live out
right.
my dream. They love what they do at this studio. Like
Oh,
I've been able to create some dream jobs for people, and so it's time for me to back off and let them shine. And so that's been one thing that we joke about this year is I need to go away more. You guys you guys
right.
take control and do it. And so trusting your gut, yes, but also trusting your team. Um and that's hard to do a lot of times, but it's also so
It's part
important.
of what you have to do to
Yeah,
scale and grow.
right. And
Um,
and then knowing when to back off, but also when to step back in.
yeah,
Um, so it's all it's never ending. There's never
that's
you
right.
never are going to get to the point where you're just, well, did that, solve that
That's right.
problem, done.
Ah, I'm just curious, what was the best, I don't know, advice, or I don't know if advice is the right word, but what was the biggest thing you got out of the Minority Business Accelerator?
There's so many moments that were so eye-opening in a lot of ways. The we started off day one with the financial boot camp, and
Yeah,
all of
those
us
are,
left in tears.
yeah. Well,
uh,
and as and as a coach, I go to those just more of like, I got to remind me, like it jars me. I learn something new every year when
yeah,
I just sit in that, because Rich Clay's was one of our guys like, why do you attend these? I'm like, Rich, that's like, I'm always a work in progress. And
we're still
and I'm
learning.
not in the books, all the, cause I delegate that to a team, but I'm like,
Yes,
it just reminds me, or I'm like, ooh, I've heard somebody's story, and I'm like, ooh, that is very relevant. I
yes,
think,
yeah.
I need to
We're
bring that
all
back to the house. Yeah.
that work in progress. And I think it's very easy. I think this is a very easy answer to say, but in the MBA program, the whole experience is culminating to your strategic growth plan,
Right.
right? Your SGAP. And so putting that together, um, again, I think the reason I was accepted into the program is because I shared with Wendell and Beth, what my mentor tells me is if your dreams and goals don't make you want to throw up,
Right.
they're not big
Cause
enough. And at that point in life, I really wanted to throw up. And so working on that SGAP and putting that plan in place felt like, oh, that's a lot of big stuff on paper. It's not just here, and it's not just here. It's
right.
now in the universe. Now I got to do it. But then also learning that that document is not finite. It's
No,
all evolving.
it's always, I still like I update mine,
Yeah.
and every year. I mean, I had a 3 year, the 3 year SCAP in 2018,
Hmm.
and redid it. But you redid it in 2020,
Hmm.
redid it again, because the 2020 was like,
Nope.
did
Not
that. But yeah, every year we kind of look at it and go, is the, 3 to 5 year outlook, but what is the action plan in the year one? Like, what's
right.
our 12-month action plan to continuously get to that? And
And
it's an
then
ever,
looking, is that goal still relevant? Because it may
right.
not be the way that 12
No,
worked out.
that's right. And that's kind of what, when I started the agency in 2013, I did a 3 year, um, growth plan, action plan. And it was interesting when I reflect back on it, and, a couple years later, I was like, wow, I hit the big, like the financial, but how I thought my action plan, how I thought I was going to get there,
Yeah.
like, and I would have never, was I, I had it all method. It was like, I'm doing
Yeah.
this, I'll hit this number. I hit the number, but when I'm like, it was like ping, 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 roller coaster everywhere. Um,
It's like
and that,
raising our children, right? Like
yeah, you never
you're
know.
looking at them and you're like, oh my God, why can't you just figure this out? Why is this so hard?
Well,
I feel like that every single day in my business, I step back and I reflect and I'm like, if I had just done this from the get go, we
right,
would, but I had to learn that lesson the hard way, right? Like I couldn't
right.
just go in. Someone could be telling me the same thing. So
Look,
in the DSOA inner circle and in MBA, I'm hearing all these things that I've heard before. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. But if knowing and doing are two different things,
that's
and
right.
if you're not doing it, you don't actually know it.
Right.
So I
That is
love,
that's a aha.
yes,
Knowing and doing is, yeah.
yeah,
A- and it was so fun because I was talking to another at breakfast this morning, an old colleague of mine, and he and I were just banter. He's like, John Ray's like, do you know how many people? Because my marketing business, we go in and we think we're solving an advertising problem, and what we find is we're solving a branding or a marketing operations problem,
yeah,
so that their advertising spend works harder
right.
for them. And we also find that people have a business plan, they have a financial plan, but they have no strategy or action plan to
Mm,
get there.
yeah,
Um, and we're talking about uh, $250 million, $500 million, $1 million, $1 billion companies
mhm,
who are doing the same, learning the same thing. They're just bigger juggernauts.
yeah,
They've grown because the market grew, or they were handed a company from, you know, a parent, or they're a second generation or a third generation, and they never had to like sit down and think through and build not just an S gap, but then, because part of the S gap is you put together SMART goals. Well,
right.
then each one of those SMART goals needs a strategy and action plan to achieve those.
And as easy
Most
as
companies haven't even done that. Like there
no,
is none of that. And so we sit down and go, that's well, first of all, it's like wheeling, like that's not even an objective. Like that's not even a measurable, attainable objective. It's not even worded. And so I tell that to all the, I mean, I know you weren't assigned to me, but I always tell that to anybody that's assigned to me of like, you think you're just this small business starting out.
hmm,
These are problems that we're helping large companies solve.
yeah,
So you're just getting ahead of it. You're investing in yourself this time and energy so that you can accelerate and be better than some of the bigger companies that you walk into. So like you need to have the confidence when you walk into a chamber networking and you go, wow, 500 employees. And I said, because like there is an 80% chance that
hmm,
they haven't done the strategy, the action, the
yeah.
thinking that you're learning in this class.
Yeah, so I was listening to your conversation with Rebecca Jensen, and she said that she realized that no one knew what they were
Yeah.
doing, right? We're all just making this up. And I think there's this misconception. And I always use the example when we're trying to figure something out in our team. I'm like, would the CEO of Walmart or Target like would how would they do this? They don't know.
Right.
Like there's so many things, and there's freedom in that. I think
Yep.
if we can like let go of the fact that no one knows what they're
Right.
doing, I keep equating a lot of this to parenting because
Yeah.
in my line of
It's
work,
well, this is a baby.
it
You're
is this
raising from infant to you know, they leave the payroll. They've exited the building.
maybe they do, maybe they stick around, but like I'm raising my baby at my business, I'm raising my employees, I'm raising my students, and in a lot of ways I'm raising their
Yeah.
parents too. There's a lot of education that happens. But when you are able as a founder and entrepreneur, if you're able to realize that we're all just out here making it up, just like when they hand you that little baby
Mm-hmm.
at the hospital and you're like, now
That's
what?
right.
Who let me start a business? Who thought that was a good idea? But here we are. So now we got to figure it out,
Right.
um, and making it more of a game and having fun in that learning instead of like running away when things get hard, just digging
Yeah.
in. It's
Well, and
fun.
that becomes part of your brand, right? Of why
Exactly.
people want to work for you because you've turned running the business, operating the business, figuring things out, that becomes part of your culture.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love it.
And it's not just me coming in and telling them what to do. It's us as a
That's
team
right. Help
figuring it out.
everybody coming together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I love that. That is so good. And I can't believe we're out of time. We're always like, these episodes go by so fast. But before we go, where can people connect with you, find more information about what you're doing in season 8 so they can keep watching what's happening?
Yes, and we're launching season 8. I think we just decided this morning that registration will open officially for season 8 April 15th.
Okay.
But we'll take enrollments all year long. So season 7 is still happening,
Let's go.
baby. But we are www.aimspartanburg.com. So AIMspartanburg.com. And then we're AIM Spartanburg on all socials as well.
And that's for Arts in Motion.
Arts in Motion. That's
all right. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. This was great. Loved hearing your story. And I know our listeners did too. You gave such good insights. For everyone listening or watching, thank you for hanging out with us today. The podcast will obviously be available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So subscribe to Hello Chaos. Give us a like, maybe a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Share this great content and help us build a more connected entrepreneurial community. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That is Orange Whip, work in progress. That's what the WIP stands for, because we all are a work in progress. Never ending. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We're in 3 markets of South Carolina today, looking to expand to other markets. So every city needs an Orange Whip. We've designed hyperlocal media platforms to inform, inspire, and be the independent connective tissue between founders and the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. Our innovative digital zines are an all-in-one content hub. We share fresh and engaging stories from founders to founders. We curate local calendars. So not just networking events, but we look at the incubator and accelerators and their deadlines for sign up, grant opportunities. So that events calendar is an all-in-one little hub there for you, or local dynamic roadmaps that are filterable. So the 80 to 100 to sometimes 300 resources in a market, we help founders navigate that ecosystem with ease. We've done all the hard work. Just one trusted source to find all the information they need. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us, send an email to hello@orangewhip.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you again next week.